Office Hours. Here we go. Again, I am Dave Summers with the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center. Wanted to give you a couple of instructions. Thank you for your patience as we get started. Please stay muted during the presentation. We are recording the session, and materials will be available to all of you afterwards. And you can turn on your closed captioning, and that will be available. We have so many participants on today. I'm not sure how many questions we will be able to take audibly, but if you would put your questions in the chat, we'll get through as many as we can. And afterwards, if we did not get to your question, David has promised to take a look at those questions and we will respond to you. Again, it's Dave Summers, and then my presenter today is David Stephen, Communications Manager with the Transit Workforce Center. A little bit about the NADTC. Our mission is to promote the availability of accessible transportation options that serve the needs of older adults, people with disabilities, caregivers, and communities. We offer a great deal of technical assistance, communication and outreach. We do a lot of coordination and partnership, and then we do have grants programs to invest in community solutions. The NADTC is a partnership between U.S. Aging and Easter Seals. We are funded by the Federal Transit Administration. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David.
All right, well, thank you very much, David. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to try to make this as lively and as engaging as I possibly can for this really important subject matter that we're talking about, which is the recruitment and retention for paid and volunteer drivers. I've been working in this space specifically around recruitment and retention for almost 2 years here with the Transit Workforce Center, and have had the opportunity and the pleasure, quite frankly, of talking to a number of state associations and transit agencies about their challenges that they have dealt with the recruitment of frontline workers, specifically with drivers and operators, and how to best approach going about addressing that challenge. So if we can move to the next slide, just want to tell you a little bit about the Transit Workforce Center. We exist as the very first technical assistance center for transit workforce development for frontline workers. So we work in the space of recruitment, retention, training, and meeting the needs of hiring and training, and meeting the needs for the workforce for today, and to meet the challenges that we have in the future. And again, so in the space that I've worked in around recruitment and retention, and in addition to my work as a communications manager for the Transit Workforce Center, I've had a number of conversations with different stakeholders who are meeting the challenges of recruiting their workforce. And what we have, and in the time that we've learned these things, we have been able to put together a toolkit so that we can give some resources to the agencies and community partners around meeting the challenges that we have for recruitment and retention. And that's how we've come up with what's on the next slide here, David. Excuse me. What's on the next slide here, which is our toolkit for hashtag connecting my community.
I am not advancing.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay. And David, if you have any windows that are open, I think that's where those boxes are coming from. Any windows that, in addition to where the from the PowerPoint should be the main thing that's up on your screen.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah, you got one more up there. I think that'll do it.
That did it?
Yeah, it sure did. All right. Okay, so again, we put together this toolkit here, Connecting My Community, which is the National Transit Frontline Worker Campaign Toolkit. Here at the Transit Workforce Center, again, we operate as the TA center for the Federal Transit Administration. And one thing that we have learned for sure is that if you are going to train your frontline workforce for today and into the future, you've got to make sure that you have them. So before you can train them, you've got to bring them in, and that is how we came up with this recruitment toolkit that we have here. So let me tell you a little bit about what's inside of it on the next slide. All right. Inside the toolkit is a central repository of a number of things that we hope will be able to help any of our stakeholders in putting together and framing an effective recruitment campaign. So that includes sample marketing materials from agencies, large and small, urban and rural, and also from stakeholders that are doing work in that similar space. Effective strategies and outlining how you can implement those strategies, which I'll talk a little bit about a little bit more as we get into my presentation. And then we've got background research and reports so that you can see some unique ways that a lot of our partners have worked on getting recruitment, and then also those connections so that you can get in touch with those people. And we put that all together, and that is how we've come up with the components that we have here of the toolkit. Now, in addition to having those components, what we've also been able to do, and David, you can move to the next slide, what we've also been able to do is come up with some central themes around why working in public transportation is important and is rewarding. And so let me give you all a spoiler. As good or perhaps not as good as wages and benefits might be in public transportation, that's not what's going to give us a heads up in being able to get people into this industry. And why is that? Because we've got a number of other industries that are competing for that same pool of talent, whether it's working in hospitality, whether it's logistics, you name it. There are a lot of industries that can offer, especially for entry level, good benefits, good wages for workers. So what we have to do is talk about the things that public transportation does that these other industries do not. And that's how we came up with a lot of these themes that we've created in consultation with our partners. And I highlighted 4 of these themes of the 7 that we have, because I believe that these resonate especially with this audience and with the audience that we're talking about doing recruitment for. My community works because I work. My community, just a second, David. Yeah, there we go. My work gets people where they need to be, serving your community and connecting your community. So there are themes and these are ideas that are pretty unique to the space that we work in around public transportation, and are themes that you should keep in mind as you are putting together and strategizing how you will put together an effective recruitment campaign. We can move on to the next slide now. And so in using those themes, also inside of our toolkit, we have put together these templates here that you can use to customize in your work in case you don't have the capacity to be able to graphically design and put together your own flyers and outreach. We've got downloadable templates that are inside of the toolkit that you are free to use far and wide to spread the message. And it really is pretty user-friendly on how we're able to do that. If we can go to the next slide here, you will see that we have made it so that you can customize the template simply by clicking and adding in your own information about where you are, whether it's at your agency or your community organization, and plugging in that unique info so that you are able to share that within your network and to the people that you are seeking to recruit. And it's on a PDF. So it doesn't get much simpler to be able to customize than doing that. And for those that might want to get a little bit riskier, we do have Adobe InDesign graphics that you can also use so that you can take out the pictures that we have and you can drop in pictures that are from your own workforce or from your own area and region. So a great tool that we want to equip you all with, so that you're able to have an effective campaign and use some of these tested themes that we've gotten feedback from with many of our stakeholders, so that you can put together an effective campaign. Now let's dig into it and get to the next slide here. All right. Some other things inside the toolkit that we have are some going along with the messaging are some videos that transit agencies around the country have used, so that they're able to spread the message about what makes their agency and the work that the frontline workers are doing unique. And what I'd like to share with you here is a video that some colleagues of mine at the Transit Workforce Center put together when we were talking to some bus operators out of Indigo in Indianapolis. So if we can move to the next slide, we're going to show you this quick video here, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how that all came together.
I enjoy making money. I enjoy making money. I love interaction. Like I said, I love to drive. So that what brings me to work every day. So.
Well, for me, for me to get up every day is something that this job helped me to become a better person. Is that my thing is, I don't let the day make me, I make the day. And so that encourages me to get through my days. I lost my mom when I was 16 years old, and I always told myself, anything outside of that, I can get through. So that's what helps me get through my day, with any challenges or anything that I have. And plus, I'm a people person. I enjoy working with people, and I get a pleasure out of helping others.
Great. And thank you for that, David. So want to show that to you all, to illustrate to you all that this is just a part of a series of videos that we are making and that we are sharing, and hopefully showing to you all that it does not have to be complicated in order to put together an effective media strategy on how you can spread the good news about public transportation. You just saw 3 workers there out of Indianapolis who are excited about the work that they do. They find that work rewarding, and they're saying it with their own voices. And we did all that in about 45 seconds. So you can literally take a camera phone and hold it up to someone that's working on the front line and ask them that question. How did you get into this work? Why do you like this work? And just let it rip. Put that on social media. Put that out in the areas where you're looking to recruit, and it can be an incredibly effective way of making sure that you are getting the word out and selling the work that being in public transportation is, by using the words of the people that are actually doing it, which is always the most effective way of getting that done. All right, so here's an example of a case study that you can read about that is inside of our toolkit. And this deals specifically with Metro West, which is out of Massachusetts. And it will show you how, or some strategies that have been implemented by that transit authority, so that they can bring in workers, and specifically workers with disabilities. And as you can see from these numbers here, 90% of transit agencies are struggling to hire frontline workers, but only 19% of people with disabilities are employed in the U.S. And so you've got a large pool of talent that you can draw from that will be able to help you fill some of those positions that you have open with your frontline workforce. So now we can go to the next slide. And this is another example and an illustration of an approach to bring in older workers. And this is going to be out of Cape Cod, which is also in Massachusetts, just so happens. David, are we on the, can we get to the next slide, please? There we go. And so David, if you will hit play on that one.
All right, they're lining up the beach shuttles, as you can see, and we need drivers.
We're looking for new drivers.
Sometimes it feels like driving family.
The pay is good, and the benefits are awesome.
A huge signing bonus plus benefits.
That's a pretty good deal.
We drive for our Cape Cod neighbors.
Join us.
Be part of a great team.
It is a good job.
Taking care of people who need us.
We are kind of people helping people.
That's why I drive.
That's why I drive.
We drive for you.
Come drive with us at the Cape Cod RTA. We're going your way.
Again, this is of course a bit more slicker of a video, but another great illustration of how taking workers in their own words and letting them tell their own story can be the most effective way that you can go about recruiting the desired talent that you need. In Cape Cod, they've got a number of retirees that are looking for part-time employment or new employment. So what better way to recruit those people than to have that reflected in the ones that are speaking. So we can go on to the next slide here, David. And we know that we have some unique challenges when we're talking about recruiting those with disabilities or those that are older, and especially getting volunteers in the workforce. And so a great way of meeting that challenge is to actually go out into the community to talk about the great things that that you offer as being a part of your public transportation agency. And this is an example here of Metro Transit out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, while they're at a community fair, getting people excited about the great things that public transportation does. Let's go to the next slide. And also, something else to consider when you are bringing in your talent is to have a simplified application. If the application process is overwhelming, especially considering how competitive the job market is, then you've already put yourself at a disadvantage, because if a person has to take a long time to fill out an application versus if they're filling out an application for someone else that has streamlined their process, you may very well lose that talent because one, they've taken a long time to fill out the application, or two, you may have taken a long time to call them back. So if there's anything that I can recommend to you for that purpose, it's to make the application as short as possible and to make your return to that applicant as timely as possible, so that you can get them in the door, and then you can actually go back to fill in some of that information that you may still need for the application process while you got them engaged and on the cusp of being able to offer them employment. Now, let me share with you, we can go to the next slide, David, some of the effective outreach strategies that we've seen in addition to going out into the community like you just saw. And this is just a short list here of using messages and imagery that reflects your target recruitment audience. You all have seen that in a couple of the videos here. Considering what advertisement can be used, where you are, whether it's on a bus, at a bus station, at a community center, things like that, and what will be the most effective way to get that done. Populating your ads with local images. Like you all saw in our templates, we've got some great pictures of workers, but if you are in Florida and you got a picture of some bundled up riders and a bundled up driver, that's probably not going to be the most effective way of engaging them, because they won't see themselves reflected in those images. Using your workers' own words, we've talked about that. Advertising what sets you apart from other careers, we've talked about that with our themes. And making what the applicant should know about the hiring process clear, particularly in advertising materials for hiring events, and developing methods to support the applicants throughout the process. So if you're doing a hiring event, you want to make the process as easy for them as possible. They should be able to get there, fill in whatever information they need about the application, do their interview, and maybe even come out with a tentative offer. That way you got that person and they're already locked in. Considering the efficacy and clarity of your webpage, and considering your target audience and what you will offer that will appeal to them. And so, there are a lot of examples, but if you've got a person that's under 25, chances are talking about your pension program, even if it's the best pension that you can get, it's just not going to be something that's particularly attractive to them because it's not something that is immediately on their list of priorities. So that's what we mean by that there. And let's move to the next slide. And then these here, and I'll just talk about a couple of these here, are examples of benefits that we've seen some agencies that have offered that are responsible for getting and keeping a workforce that is engaged and retained in public transportation. So of course that includes attractive starting salaries, signing bonuses, and knowing when your pay increases are going to be, but also having paid training, being able to usher people through a CDO process if that's necessary, and highlighting your opportunities for advancement, because we know that there are a lot of executives and higher ups in public transportation that have literally started out on the front lines. And then you see some other things here from some other agencies, including part-time options, housing related options like discounts, childcare assistance, retailer and gym discounts. And then here's a big one, and that's mentorship. And let's move on to the next slide so I can talk a little bit about that there. Mentorship. Now, this is probably one of, if not the most effective way to retain your workforce once they've gotten started. A lot of times when people get into this work, they don't necessarily know everything about what's going to be asked or required of them. Having someone that is selected through your agencies to be a mentor and to guide these new hires through the process, to get them over those speed humps, those figurative speed humps in addition to the literal ones, is extremely effective in being able to keep and retain your talent and having them go along with these new hires for the ride. Let's go to the next slide here, and I'll tell you a little bit about what mentor programs do. So they retain the talent, but they also transfer knowledge, so that there are things that come with time that you have to learn from being on the job. But having someone that's been through that can be extremely helpful for people that are new into this industry. And then it gets those new recruits excited about telling other people, I work here and you should work here too. So mentorship can be an extremely effective and valuable way of bringing in talent and keeping that talent, and then being able to get more talent to come into the industry. Let's move on to the next slide. And these are some examples of outcomes that we have seen from mentorship. And so as you can see, by comparison, when you have mentorship, the outcomes are noticeable, where you're able to keep your talent, less absences, less leaving of the industry, and this has been generally true of agencies around the country. But these are just a couple of examples of how we've been able to quantitatively prove that there is value in putting together a mentorship program. And it doesn't have to be anything that is certified or anything of that nature, but something where you're having a program where you have designated good people to mentor those other good people. One thing that we always joke about is that every agency has a mentorship program. The ones that don't know it are the ones that don't have a very good one, because you can go into any break room in any agency around the country, and you're going to find that loud employee is going to tell everybody that's bad about this job, what's wrong with this job, why they hate this job, and then that becomes their mentor. And so that has changed their attitude, or could change their attitude about how they feel about this work. But you could designate someone, because chances are if they've been in this work for 5, 10, 15 years, they found something that they like and want to continue to do about this work. And those are the people that you want to get to be excited about being here and staying here. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So these are a couple of the next steps that we have for our recruitment efforts and things that we'd like for you all to do so that you can help us to continue to grow our recruitment toolkit and give you the resources that you need to be successful. So as you're putting together your recruitment materials, using our hashtag, connecting my community, will help us to create a virtual library so that people will be able to search all the great things that we have to offer about public transportation. Connect with us on any successful recruitment and retention strategies that you have. We'd be happy to feature those in some of our many case studies, or just to talk through with you what's good, so that I can share that information with parties as they go forward. Showing us your advertising and sharing with us your advertising so that we can put that in our materials library. Always a good way of getting the creative juices flowing for folks, and showing them what is good or what may not be good. If we can go back for just a second, David. And then also providing us with feedback as you take a look at our toolkit. If there's something that you know that you need that is missing from the toolkit, making sure that you get in contact with me and letting me know, it'd be really helpful if you are able to offer X, Y, or Z, because we don't have the resources to do it. And we are more than happy to do that for you. And then also pictures. And that's very helpful for us as we're putting together our templates, so that, as I said, you can you have access to appropriate pictures and images for the target audience that you are seeking out. And so with any of that or any assistance that you need, we can go to the next slide there, David. You all can get in contact with me. I have not changed my new title. I am the communications manager. So yeah, but that is me, David Stephen. And you can email me. You'll have all my information here at this QR code. And now looking forward to spending a couple of minutes with you all and answering any questions at all that you have, and how I and all of us at TWC might be able to be of assistance to you. So thank you very much, David.
Yeah, and thank you, David. As we get started here with looking at some of the questions and things in the chat, I just want to take a moment to pause and think about some of the differences between, and sometimes we think there are big differences and sometimes there aren't, between paid drivers and volunteer drivers. And one of the things that David and I were talking about before we got on this call today is that what the work that our drivers do is so incredibly meaningful. The audience that we serve, older adults, people with disabilities, and caregivers, these are critical populations that we're working with. And it's a similar heart to the mission of what we're doing, whether you're paid or volunteer. And so a lot of these techniques, a lot of what you're doing will transfer when you're recruiting. Think about how you are speaking to the why you do what you do, not just what you do, but the why, and how important it is and how meaningful it is. And I think that's something to keep in mind. And I know we also have some others on the call that have a lot of experience in terms of working with volunteer programs and can speak to that as well. But let's take a look at some of the questions. Also, while we've been talking, I asked a colleague to put a couple things in the chat. We're going to add some resources, some additional resources from NADTC for you that you can find on our website. And then before you log off, you're going to find a link to an evaluation that we hope you'll take before we're done today. But let's see if we've got a couple of questions here that we can go to. There's the link to the information. Do you have a toolkit specifically for volunteers?
Yeah, so I actually typed in a response in the
there you go.
There. Yeah, so
You
so
got
we
that one
we don't
already.
have
You're
a
on it,
toolkit
David.
I'm sorry.
You're on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't have a toolkit that is specific to volunteers, but what we do have are tips and strategies that will help you to think through how you strategize and frame an effective campaign. There are no two systems that are alike. There are no two cities that are alike. There are no two states that are alike. Your approach to bringing in people into your workforce is going to have to cater to the people that are inside of your community or the people that you are seeking out. And that's the best and quite frankly, probably the only way that you're going to be able to keep and sustain having a workforce that you will be able to retain. So there's no one size fits all of saying this is how you get volunteers. This is how you get young people. This is how you get people looking for a second career. But what we want to encourage you to do is to look at what's around you, what's in your community, what the needs are in the community, what people are saying in the community, and how you position the work that you're doing at your agency and to be able to go out and get those people. And as I've said throughout this presentation, using the workforce that you have can be the most effective way of doing it.
You know, David, just in the last few weeks, I know I've stumbled across some really innovative ways that people are recruiting drivers. And so, I'm just going to share a couple, and then I would encourage others to type in the chat whatever innovative ways they have found to recruit drivers so we can learn from one another today. But I know that going to service organizations like, say, your Lions Club or Rotary can be really effective. Leaving recruitment flyers at popular destinations like the library, a fitness center, or even golf clubs. I talked to somebody the other day that said, hey, you know, golfers, when they're not golfing, sometimes they like to get out and do something in the community. So they found that really effective. And I love that idea. But we can also think about some of the younger groups. Students sometimes are doing service hours and need to do projects, and they might be interested in volunteering to do some driving, for example, and moms groups. So there are so many different ideas. And so let's see if others are throwing in any ideas that they have. I see somebody likes the mentorship idea. Here's someone who says, I recruit a lot of volunteer drivers. Here's some. Thank you, Emily, for jumping in. Emily is with NV Rides in Fairfax County, and I know that she oversees a number of volunteer driver programs in Northern Virginia, in-person expos and career fairs, farmers markets. Thank you, Emily, for jumping in.
David, I think everyone probably has my my contact info at this point. If you want to take down the share screen so we can better see each other if we want to share.
Okay. I will go to, I just want to let people know, and I will take down the shared screen, but here's where you can find us at NADTC. Zoom quit unexpectedly. Is it there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I had something that popped up on my screen that said that Zoom quit. So I wasn't sure why it did that. So excuse me. Here are some places where we post information on our website. We have a monthly e-news for folks that are interested in signing up for that. And then my own contact information, or the contact information at NADTC, and I will stop sharing there. And then if we've got just a couple of minutes, we could take a couple more questions. Emily, I don't know if you had anything else that you would want to add, if you'd want to come off mute and join us for a second, talk a little bit about specifically volunteers.
Oh yeah, thanks for calling on me. I recruit volunteers only, so my tips are probably not as relevant to the workforce. And I see some of my colleagues from a Maryland program are on here too. But one of the things that works really well is face-to-face, because sometimes people are confused and think it's an employment opportunity. So kind of getting a chance to talk about how it's uncompensated but really rewarding is helpful. I also think the census, if you're in a large enough area, you can look at where, because if you're going to ask people to drive their own cars, they have to probably have their own car. Most people aren't buying a car to volunteer. So if you look at where people own cars, high rates of personal car ownership, you can assume there's more drivers in that certain area. Also, I would say most drivers come from people who have a lot of free time, so more like retirees. So looking to senior groups is a good place to find people who might be interested.
Thank you, Emily. And again, we'll keep following the chat, or if somebody's got another question, I think we've got a couple of minutes if somebody wants to come off mute. And oh, here's one from Ryan. Have you come across any issues with volunteer drivers using their own vehicle and insurance? Providers not wanting to cover them without purchasing a commercial policy. That's a very common problem. I don't know, Emily, if you want to try to tackle that.
Our drivers don't purchase a commercial policy, but the organizations have umbrella policies.
Here's another idea. Somebody said word of mouth on the pickleball court. That's fun. Anybody else have a question burning question to ask? Give it another minute here.
I actually had one question for this group. Has anyone had luck recruiting people who are professional drivers into volunteer roles? Has anybody tried that? Like when people maybe on the side or like are maybe retiring? I haven't done it myself, but I was thinking it might be good because it's people who like to drive.
And I think that's one of those areas there, Emily, where you want to tap into the rewarding aspect of the work that you're doing. Because of course, if you're going to get somebody to volunteer, then that means that they actually care about it. So when you're talking about getting seniors to and from the doctor, to their medication, to the grocery store, getting kids to school, do you care about your community? Is this something that you want to invest into your community, and sharing those kind of messages and sharing that benefit, or maybe even tapping into the environmental side. I like to tell people that public transportation is the original green job, right? It's been cleaning up the environment before it was cool. And so those are the kinds of things and the kinds of messages that you want to share, because they're things that we kind of know, but we don't always think about. And so those are the things that you want to say. And I think that kind of works across the board. If you're going to get a professional driver, they're probably looking to volunteer because it's something that they've always enjoyed doing anyway, so much so that now they're doing something for free that they used to get paid for. But also reminding them of, this is the value added that you brought to your community as a result of the work that you were doing.
That's helpful.
See, we have a comment about travel training and teaching people how to use public transit. We do have a lot of materials on our website. That's another topic that is quite valuable, is to understand travel training. You'll find other information on that topic on our website as well. Any other? Here we have, here's someone who reached out to a school bus driver company and they weren't interested to learn more, but I'm still thinking about that too. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Recruiting volunteers for our driving program at the Senior Network. Oh, I love this. Minnesota passed legislation defining a volunteer driver as not for hire, which helps insurance companies understand volunteers do not need a commercial policy. That's nice. Thanks for sharing that. Any other comments or questions we have? Otherwise, we'll thank everyone for being here today. Be sure and fill out the evaluation. Oh, here's somebody that does have an umbrella policy for their volunteer drivers. And again, there's the link to our evaluation today. And once again, I just want to thank everyone for being at office hours today. We have different office hours and different topics throughout the year, as well as other helpful webinars on different topics of interest to you. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, please do. We like to get that information out. We're a wealth of resources to help you in your valuable work, and thank you all for what you do every day to help older adults and people with disabilities and caregivers live well and age in place where they want to be in our communities. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks,
David.
All right.